Imagine this, hidden beneath the most sacred building on earth, protected by Swiss guards and locked away from prying eyes, lies what some claim is the world's largest collection of pornography. Renaissance popes commissioned it, cardinals bathed surrounded by it, and when the printing press made it public, the church hunted down every copy and threatened anyone who possessed it with death. This isn't conspiracy, it's documented history, and the truth is far darker and more fascinating than you'd imagine. Let's start with what we know for certain. In 1516, deep within the Vatican's apostolic palace, where only popes, cardinals, and the highest church officials could enter, there existed a room. Not just any room, a bathroom decorated with erotic frescoes painted by Raphael, one of history's greatest Renaissance masters. The room was called the Stufetta del Cardinal Bibbiena, the small heated room of Cardinal Bibbiena. And what Cardinal Bibbiena chose to look at while he bathed would shock modern sensibilities. The walls depicted Venus, goddess of love, and Cupid, god of erotic desire, in explicitly sensual scenarios. Venus stepping naked into her shell, Venus lounging between Adonis's legs, swimming in what was described as sensual abandon. But here's where it gets disturbing. At knee level, the silver faucet was crafted into the face of a leering satyr, and according to early visitors, some of the most risque panels were eventually destroyed, including one showing Vulcan attempting to assault Minerva. This wasn't pornography as we understand it today. This was high art, commissioned by a cardinal, painted by the student of Raphael, inside the Vatican itself. The room still exists today, badly damaged, largely forgotten, hidden in the private papal apartments where tourists never tread. But if you think that's shocking, what happened next makes Cardinal Bibbiena's bathroom look innocent. Around 1523, an artist named Giulio Romano was working on Vatican frescoes when something happened. According to art historians, Romano, allegedly angry about a late payment from Pope Clement VII, drew 16 explicit sexual positions on the walls of the Sala di Costantino, a major room in the papal apartments. 16 sexual positions. Now here's the twist. Romano didn't get in trouble. Why? Because these images were for a private elite audience, the aristocracy, the church hierarchy. They could view erotic art because supposedly they were sophisticated enough not to be corrupted by it. The problem began when Romano left for Mantua and gave these drawings as a parting gift to an engraver named Marcantonio Raimondi. Raimondi looked at these explicit sketches and had an idea that would change publishing history forever. He turned them into prints, mass-produced prints, and in 1524, he published them as a booklet called I Modi, The Ways, also known as the 16 Pleasures. For the first time in history, explicit sexual images weren't reserved for aristocrats looking at private bathroom frescoes. Anyone with money could buy them. They circulated on the streets of Rome. Copies spread like wildfire across Europe. The Vatican was horrified. Pope Clement VII ordered every copy confiscated and destroyed. He arrested Raimondi and threw him in prison for a year. His life and business were destroyed. But Romano, who created the original art, faced no punishment. The hypocrisy was stunning. But the story doesn't end there. Enter Pietro Aretino, a satirical poet with connections to the Pope himself. Aretino heard about Raimondi's imprisonment and was intrigued. He managed to get Raimondi released from the Vatican jail. Then, according to his own letter, he demanded to see the images that had caused such outrage. His response? He was inspired. Aretino wrote 16 explicitly erotic sonnets to accompany each of the sexual positions, and they were published together in 1527. The Vatican responded by gathering up all available copies and burning them. Pope Clement threatened anyone who published I Modi with the death penalty. This wasn't just censorship. This was the first prosecution for pornography in history. Pietro Aretino fled to Venice. Raimondi's second printing destroyed what remained of his reputation, and the Church's brutal suppression guaranteed that I Modi became the most sought-after forbidden book in Europe, the 50 Shades of Grey of the Renaissance. Shakespeare may have even referenced it in A Winter's Tale when he mentions that rare Italian master, Giulio Romano. Here's the critical question. If the Vatican destroyed every copy, where did they put them? For centuries, rumors have circulated, whispers in academic circles, claims from unusual sources. The Copenhagen Museum of Erotica has stated that the Vatican archives contain the largest collection of pornography and erotica ever assembled in one place. Prominent figures like William F. Buckley Jr. and cultural critic Camille Paglia have made similar claims. Think about it logically. The Church spent enormous resources hunting down pornographic material throughout history. The Inquisition, the Index of Forbidden Books, centuries of censorship and confiscation. What did they do with all of it? Here's what we know. The Vatican Archives, officially renamed the Vatican Apostolic Archives in 2019 to avoid the negative connotations of the word secret, stretch for 53 miles of shelving. They contain documents dating back 12 centuries. Father Leonard Boyle, a chief librarian for the Vatican Library in the 1980s and 90s, claimed he looked for the rumored pornography collection but found nothing. He asked older staff members. They had never seen it. Researchers from the Kinsey Institute attempted to inspect the Vatican's collections during World War II, when the holdings were microfilmed and stored at St. Louis University. They found only a few mildly erotic art items. So is it all a myth? Maybe, but here's what's strange. The Vatican demonstrably collected forbidden material. We have proof. Cardinal Bibbiena's bathroom exists. The stufetta is real, documented and photographed. I Modi existed. Original copies are gone, completely destroyed, but a few fragments survive in the British Museum, carefully cropped to remove genitalia. The Church's suppression was so thorough that we only have 18th century recreations. The Index Librorum Prohibitorum, the Church's list of forbidden books, existed from 1559 to 1966. 4 centuries of cataloging what people couldn't read. A small collection of materials deemed morally problematic was kept for scholarly study by moral theologians. So here's the truth. The Vatican almost certainly kept something. Samples, examples, materials for theological study. The question isn't whether they kept forbidden material, it's how much and whether it still exists. Some theories suggest the legendary pornography collection is a red herring, a distraction from what's actually hidden in the archives. Documents about Jesus's bloodline, suppressed gospels, evidence of church corruption that would genuinely threaten the institution. After all, pornographic art is embarrassing. Documents proving institutional evil are dangerous. But maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe the scandal isn't what the Vatican is hiding. Maybe the scandal is what we already know they did. Popes kept mistresses. Cardinals commissioned erotic art. The greatest artists of the Renaissance painted sexual imagery for church officials. Raphael himself was rumored to have died from a fever caused by a night of sexual excess with his young mistress. The church that preached chastity, that condemned lust as sin, that controlled sexuality across Europe for centuries, that same church filled its palaces with naked bodies and sexual imagery. When a working-class engraver dared to make that hypocrisy public, they destroyed him. When a poet wrote about it, they threatened him with death. When the printing press democratized access to what the elite had always enjoyed, the church responded with prosecutions, book burnings, and the establishment of censorship that lasted for 400 years. The collection itself, whether it exists or not, isn't the point. The point is that the Vatican spent centuries doing exactly what it told everyone else they couldn't do. Looking at what everyone else couldn't see, enjoying what everyone else would be punished for. And when technology threatened to expose that hypocrisy, they burned the evidence. So does the Vatican possess the world's largest pornography collection? Probably not. The Kinsey Institute in Indiana almost certainly has more. But did they create much of the pornography they later tried to suppress? Absolutely. Did they commission it, display it, enjoy it privately while publicly condemning it? Documented fact. Did they hunt down and destroy evidence of their hypocrisy with a ruthlessness that extended to imprisonment, death threats, and systematic censorship? Historical record. Today, you can request access to the Vatican archives if you're a qualified scholar. You'll fill out forms, present credentials, and wait in climate-controlled reading rooms. You won't find underground vaults or torch-lit tunnels, but somewhere in those 53 miles of shelving, in sections still classified, in materials that remain restricted, there might be fragments, samples, pieces of what was confiscated, burned, suppressed. Or maybe the real collection was destroyed long ago. Maybe the only pornography the Vatican ever truly possessed was the art they commissioned themselves, hidden in bathrooms and private chambers where only the elite could see. Either way, the darkest secret isn't what they're hiding, it's what they did and what they destroyed to cover it up. Hit subscribe to History's Dark Ledger. We uncover the side of history they never taught you because they couldn't.